Hey everyone, Chris here and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to bring you my March book haul. So I still haven't managed to get my book hauls under control. There are quite a few books here. This is making my goal of reading all the books I haul in 2025. In 2025, that much harder, but let's dive in and see what I got and see how many books I'm adding to my total books I need to read in 2025. First up, I'm going to start with ebooks. Smashwords had a sale. And I ended up actually grabbing some books from there. This is the first time I've ever used Smashwords, but I found some really interesting sounding ebooks, so we're going to see if I can get to them this year. First up is Common Accord by K.N. Brindle. This is a sci-fi book. It says, in a single conversation, Jess Morin lost a ship, a job, and a marriage. Now, with not much more than a cool head, a few clever scams, and an odd assortment of friends, a seasoned spacer, a washout young pilot, and an alien engineer on the run from a vicious cabal, they might just have a shot at a future. A ragtag crew is one thing. A skip ship cobbled together out of parts rescued from the recycler, though? Well, when you're at the bottom of the ladder, you grab for the rung you can reach. When a hot tip for a big score finds its way to Jess's ears, a plan starts to come together. But the ship is barely spaceworthy, and the crew isn't the only interested party. The cargo could set them up for life if they can get to it in time. It could also make them a target. Everyone is playing for keeps, but there's one thing that nobody really bargained for. Jess Morin really doesn't like to lose. So I thought this sounded really, really interesting. And having that maybe friends that are like a found family type vibe. When I was reading the description, it did give me some Long Way to a Small Angry Planet vibes. So I'm hoping it will be a little bit like that and give me those cozy sci-fi vibes, but I guess we'll see. Then I grabbed Pillow Forts and Hurricanes by R.J. Margaret and Margarita Scialla. This is a contemporary and the first book in the Sandwort University adventures. Emma has an unbreakable bond with her roommates and lifelong best friends, yet struggles to create a romantic connection that comes even close to their friendship. That's why Emma accepts her stoic boyfriend keeping her at a distance. All of her fantasies about romance and relationships, however, come tumbling down when she witnesses said boyfriend cheating on her. Following her recent breakup and her evolving bond with her best friend Noah, Emma begins to question everything she ever knew about relationships, romantic and platonic. When Emma suggests the possibility of a queer platonic relationship to Noah, the two must navigate their feelings, unveiling secrets they've kept from each other. But as confusing as it can be, at least they're doing it together. So I was really excited by this one. This sounds very, very intriguing, and I love the idea of a book that explores a queer platonic relationship, so I'm quite looking forward to this one. Then I grabbed The Remarkable Retirement of Edna Fisher by E.M. Anderson. This is a fantasy, and it says, when you're a geriatric armed with nothing but gumption and knitting needles, stopping a sorcerer from wiping out an entire dragon fighting organization is a tall order. That right there hooked me and made it sound so interesting and like it could be really fun. It continues, no one understands why 83-year-old Edna Fisher is the chosen one, destined to save the knights from a dragon-riding sorcerer bent on their destruction. After all, Edna has never handled a magic weapon, faced down a dragon, or cast a spell, and everyone knows the Council of Wizards always chooses a teenager. Like the vengeful girl ready to snatch Edna's destiny from under her nose. Still, Edna leaps at the chance to leave the nursing home. With her son long dead in the knight's service, she's determined to save dragon fighters like him, and to ensure other mothers don't suffer the same loss as she did. But as Edna learns about the abuse in the ranks and the sorcerer's history as a knight, she questions if it's really the sorcerer that needs stopping, or the knights she's trying to save. So while the humor of that first line kind of drew me in, it also sounds like there's going to be a lot of drama and intrigue in this one, so I'm hoping that I enjoy it and it finds a good balance between the two. Then I grabbed Tale of the Three Ships by Darcia G. Lawsarica. This is another fantasy that says, in a world under the thumb of an empire, pirates sail away searching for a breath of freedom. But even the ocean is tainted by the powerful nation that has spread lies about women being bad luck at sea. Glenlivet has never cared about the fear-mongering. Her ship welcomes those who are rejected and need a home. For all the sailors' superstitions and codes of piracy the captain mocks every day, not leaving the docks when it's dark is a personal boundary she swears by ever since acquiring the Outsider about 8 years ago. She just might have to break her own rules to protect her crew, escape the claws of a king who wants her dead, and murder the man who raised her. I do like me a good pirate book. This is another book that feels like it could have a found family aspect with the line that her ship welcomes those who are rejected and needs a home. And I'm very, very curious about this world and the superstitions and how Glenlivet goes about protecting her crew. why the king wants her dead and why she might have to murder the person who raised her. Then I grabbed City of Strife by Claudie Arsenault. And this is, again, another fantasy. Isendor, City of Spires. 130 years have passed since Erethiel last set foot in his home. Isendor hasn't changed. Bickering merchant families still vie for power through eccentric shows of wealth, but he has. His family is long dead, a magical trap has dulled his senses, and he returns seeking a sense of belonging now long lost. Erethiel hides in the lower city, piecing together a new life in a shelter dedicated to the homeless and the poor, befriending an incoming trio. The shelter's rageful owner, Laren, his dark elven friend, Has Ryan, and Cal, the cheese-loving halfling. When Has Ryan is accused of Isendor's most infamous assassination of the last decade, what little peace Erethiel has managed to find for himself is shattered. Has Ryan is innocent, he thinks. In order to save him, Erethiel may have to shatter the shreds of home he managed to build for himself. So again, we have a found family aspect. It looks like here, this nice little friend group, and I'm curious as to why he left, like what drove him to spend all of this time away from his city, how he's changed, and what is going on here, and how he manages to hopefully prove Has Ryan is innocent. It says at the bottom, City of Strife is the first installment of the City of Spires trilogy, a multi-layered political fantasy led by an all LGBTQIAP+ cast. Fans of complex storylines crisscrossing one another, elves and magic, and strong friendships and found families will find everything they need within these pages. And that is absolutely right up my alley. So I am very much looking forward to this one. Then I grabbed Awakenings, also by Claudie Arsenault. This is again a fantasy. And it is the first book in the Chronicles of Nerazia. And the Chronicles of Nerazia is a series of 9 queer fantasy novellas with non-binary Arrow Ace MCs that marries the quiet moments of cozy fantasy and the sweeping twists of epic fantasy. So very, very curious how we're going to blend those together and whether this author can intrigue me in a short novella. We'll see. But it is one I've had my eye on for a while, so when I saw it was available in the sale, I decided to snag it. Then I got the first 4 books in the Secrets and Scrabbles series by Josh Langan. These are cozy mysteries that follow Ellery, who is an inspiring screenwriter who's inherited a failing bookstore and a falling down mansion in the quaint seaside village of Pirates Cove. I have actually read the first one since I got these, absolutely adored it, and cannot wait to continue the series. It was a really, really good cozy mystery, so very, very excited that I have the first 4. And then the last 2 books I grabbed are All Roads Lead to This and Wish Lists Lead to This by Kay Clare. They're obviously a series, and these are queer romances that looked interesting. I believe they're companion novels. I don't think that reading the second book would spoil the first one. On Wishlist Lead to This, it says, this book is part of a shared universe romance series, but each book can be read as a standalone. Both of them looked intriguing, so I decided to grab both of them. So those were all of my ebooks that I got. I only got one audiobook in the month of March, and that is Long Shadow by Olivia Atwater. This is the 3rd book in the Regency Fairy Tale series or something to that effect. I can never remember the name of the series. And I've read this, really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the series as a whole, and my library actually had a copy of the audiobook, but it kept skipping chapters, so I went, I'm just going to get the audiobook. I like the series enough to know that I will enjoy the audiobook. The narration has been great on the other 2, and I've heard enough of this one via my library to know that I'm still enjoying the narration. So I grabbed this one so that I could finish out that series. And now on to this giant stack of physical books. First up, I got Oathbound, which is the 3rd book in the Legend-Born cycle. I still have to read book 2, and honestly, if I was going to pick this up, I need to reread book 1. It's been that long, so I don't remember much about book 1, although I think this might be a King Arthur retelling, but don't hold me to that because, like I said, it's been a very long time since I've read book 1, and obviously, since I have not read book 2, I don't want to read the description of book 3, but we have some pretty end papers, and it has a simple 3 on it. So very excited to hopefully get back into this series in 2025. Then I grabbed a copy of Dead Good Detectives and its sequel, Ghost Rescue. I read Dead Good Detectives and really enjoyed it. Decided I was definitely going to want a copy for my shelves. And when I picked that up, I ordered the sequel. Very excited to get to the sequel. Hope it has the same kind of fun vibes as the first one. In the first one, our main character, Sid, ends up coming across the ghost of a 300-year-old pirate. And of course, we have a Cielo to help. Come here. And shenanigans definitely ensue from there as she deals with this 300-year-old ghost who is now kind of haunting her. So I'm expecting some fun shenanigans in the second one as well. Then I got Homegrown Magic, and this is a cozy fantasy romance. And I don't know much more about it, but the cover gave me really good vibes. The description when I read it sounded quite interesting, and I do love me a good cozy fantasy romance. So we're going to see if I enjoy this one. Then I grabbed History Smashers Earth Day and the Environment. This is a middle grade nonfiction series that I've read a couple books in and really enjoyed and decided I wanted to start collecting. So when I saw this was available for pre-order, I grabbed it. I'm assuming we're going to learn about Earth Day and the environment. So looking forward to learning more about that this year. Continuing in the nonfiction vibes, I got Funny Farm, My Unexpected Life with 600 Rescue Animals. And I have had my eye on this one for a while. I thought the premise sounded really, really interesting. We're following Lori, who never aspired to run an animal rescue. That was her mom's dream. But from girlhood, she was determined to make that dream come true. So I'm going to be very curious to see about Lori's life on an animal rescue and what kind of animals she's rescued and the experiences she's had. Then I got Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers. This is the third book in the Wayfarer series. I absolutely adored this series. It is 1000% one I'm going to reread in the future, and this was the only one I was missing, so it seemed like a no-brainer to get myself a copy of it so that I can have it when I'm ready to reread. Then you'll be shocked to hear that I got some Aaron Hunter books. I grabbed River of Fire, which is book 5 in the Vision of Shadows series, and River of Lost Bears, which is book 3 in Return to the Wild. I've just managed to fill in a couple more of my gaps. I'm getting very close to owning every single Aaron Hunter book, and I'm very, very excited about that. Then I grabbed River of Spirits, which I believe is the first book in the Underwild series, and it is a special first edition, which is part of what drew it to me. It's got really cool sprayed edges with feathers all over it, and it says, Senka lives between the realm of the living and the realm of the dead. As ward to Charon, the ferryman of the underworld, Senka assists in guiding recently departed souls across the river and into their afterlife. Although Charon has taught her the rules for farriers, there is much he avoids telling her. Though Senka doesn't understand why some rules are important, she listens. She must heed them in order to be an official farrier. Then a living girl, Poppy, enters the underworld to plead for help in finding the ghost of her brother. But helping Poppy goes against the rules. When Poppy is yanked away by the river's current, Senka leaps to save her, and they are swept downriver into the unmapped depths of the underworld, far from everything Senka has ever known. Lost in the Underwild, Senka and Poppy encounter spirits of lore and eccentric ghosts, and not all are willing to let souls slip through their grasps. Senka knows the living can't stay in the realm of the dead for long, and if Poppy isn't returned home soon, she'll become lost to the underworld forever. But as Senka travels deeper into the Underwild, she discovers Charon holds the answer to the mystery surrounding her own existence. As Poppy and Senka dodge angry demigods, hungry race, and a terrifying dragon, Chimera, Senka starts unraveling the truth of her own past. Soon, Senka won't just need to save Poppy's life, but she'll also need to save her own. So I thought this sounded really interesting, and I couldn't resist the sprayed edges, so I got myself a copy. Then I grabbed Roar of the Beast and Snow and Sorcery, which are books 2 and 3 in the Cardboard Kingdom. I have read Doodleville by this author, and I actually own the first book in the series, so I decided to pick up books 2 and 3. It is a middle grade graphic novel series, and hopefully I will enjoy the first one and can continue on with books 2 and 3 right after. Then I grabbed Star the Elephant, Rainbow the Koala, and Sunny the Shark. These are the first 3 books in the Surviving the Wild series. I believe they are younger middle grade graphic novel series, and I thought they looked interesting. I am trying to find some books for the little ones, and these ones just look like they would be a fun time. So I figured I'd give them a try and see if I wanted to pass them on to one of the little ones. Then I got Ash's Cabin by Jen Wang. I've read several books by this author and really enjoyed them. In this one, I believe we're following Ash, who decides to get away from people and the city life and head out to find a cabin in the wilderness. So I am very, very curious about this one. It looked interesting and I'm excited to give it a try at some point. Then I snagged Cat Got Your Killer by Sophie Ryan. This is the newest book, I don't even know which one at this point, of the Second Chance Cat mystery series. I adore this series and cannot wait to see what Sarah and Elvis, her cat, get up to in this one. Another series continuation is Dragon Riders of Roar. This is the fourth book in the Roar series, and I have absolutely loved the first three. In this series, we follow Arthur and Rose, who in the first book find out that this make-believe land they played in when they were kids is actually real, and the villain of that land has kidnapped their grandfather and they have to go rescue him. And I'm very, very curious to see what the twins get up to in this one. Then I grabbed The Baker and the Bard, and I got this because it's a cozy fantasy and it's a graphic novel and it looked cute. I don't really know much more about it than that, but hopefully I enjoy it because I do love me a cozy fantasy, and I like that it's a cozy fantasy combined with a graphic novel. Then I grabbed Blackwater by Jeanette Arroyo and Ren Graham. This is another graphic novel, and it says, "Welcome to the haunted town of Blackwater. Tony Price is a popular high school track star and occasional delinquent, aching for his dad's attention and approval. Eli Hirsch is a quiet boy with a chronic autoimmune disorder that has ravaged his health and social life. What happens when these two become unlikely friends, and a whole lot more, in the spooky town of Blackwater, Maine? Werewolf curses, unsavory interactions with the quarterback of the football team, a ghostly fisherman haunting the harbor, and tons of high school drama." So I thought this sounded really, really interesting. Again, another graphic novel, and it looks like it's all in black and white, which is really cool. I think this would be great for spooky season, so we'll see if I can actually get to it during spooky season. Continuing my graphic novel kick, I got The Legend of Brightblade by Ethan M. Aldridge. This says, "Long before Prince Alto was born, Lady Brightblade saved the kingdom of Skald from the evil Pale Drake. Thus, a legend was born." Makes me wonder if maybe I have a book that I need to read before this. So I'll have to look into that because it says long before Prince Alto was born. So I wonder if we have a series that follows Prince Alto. But it looked interesting. Again, fantasy. I really like the colors of the panels. So curious to see what this story is about. And yeah, looking forward to checking this one out, even if I do have to do a bit of research first. Another graphic novel I grabbed is Piece by Piece, the story of Nizrin's hijab. And this is going to follow Nizrin in Milwaukee, Oregon in 2002. She's a Bangladeshi American, and near the end of 8th grade, she is the victim of a hate crime for wearing a headscarf while in Bangladeshi cultural dress for a school project. And we're going to see how she deals with the aftermath of that and where things go for her and her family after that. I think this sounds like a really hard-hitting book, and I think it's really cool that such a thing exists in graphic novel form for middle graders, so I can't wait to check this one out. Then I grabbed Pennsylvania by Stephanie Watson. Pencil. I thought that the pun in the title was cute. And it says, "Ever since she first learned to hold a crayon, Zora Webb has been unstoppable. Zora draws hamsters wearing pajamas and balloons and Lake Superior and pancakes and hundreds of horses at the request of her horse-obsessed little sister Frankie. But when Zora's mom gets sick, everything starts to change, and after she passes away, Zora loses her drive to create. One day, Zora scribbles out her artwork and vows to never attempt to draw again. Her scribble lines lift off the page and yank Zora and Frankie into Pennsylvania, a magical world that's home to everything Zora has ever drawn. And one drawing, a scribbled-out horse named Viscardi, is determined to finish the destruction Zora started. Viscardi kidnaps Frankie, promising to scribble her and all of Pennsylvania out at sunrise. Zora sets out on a rescue mission, venturing deep into Pennsylvania, a place filled with strange and exciting drawings, very real dangers, and some new friends. If she is to save her sister, Zora must outwit Viscardi and find the strength to reclaim the part of herself she left behind." So I think this is a really interesting way to tell the story of grief. I'm curious to see what kind of drawings Zora encounters and how she manages to hopefully rescue her sister and return to her own world. Then another graphic novel is A Song for You and I by Kay O'Neill. Kay O'Neill wrote the Tea Dragon Society, among other things. I've loved everything I've read by them, so I got this because I have loved everything I've read by them. Don't know what it's about, don't care. I just know it's written by Kay O'Neill, and I can't wait to read it. Then I got Fence Volume 5 by C.S. Pacat. I am working my way to collecting all of these so I can reread the first couple that I've read and continue the series because my library doesn't have them. I thought the first couple were interesting enough to want to invest in them. I believe I got this off of Pango, so very excited to continue this series and see what our characters are getting up to, hopefully sooner rather than later. Then a book I'm really, really excited for is Epic Adventures, Explore the World in 12 Amazing Train Journeys. And this is by Sam Sedgman, and Sam Sedgman is one of the two authors who writes the Adventures on Train series. And some of the adventures that the kids go on in the Adventures on Train series are real trains that will be mentioned here. I adore trains, so I'm very, very excited to learn more about trains in this one and see where this journey takes us. Then I got If Cats Disappeared from the World. It says, estranged from his family and living alone with his only cat, Cabbage, to keep him company, he was unprepared for the doctor's diagnosis that he has only months to live. But before he can tackle his bucket list, the devil shows up with an offer. In exchange for making one thing in the world disappear, the postman will be granted one extra day of life. And so begins a very strange week that brings the young postman and his beloved cat to the brink of existence. With each object that disappears, the postman reflects on the life he's lived, his joys and regrets, and the people he's loved and lost. So this sounded interesting. I love me a good cat book, and I'm curious to see how Cabbage fits into things and what the postman learns as he goes through his journey in this one. Then I got The House at the Edge of Magic by Amy Sparks. This is the first book in a middle grade fantasy series that I've heard good things about. And we're following an orphan named Nine, and she ends up pickpocketing a ornament from someone's purse, and it grows into an enormous house full of magic, mystery, and ridiculous residents. But this enchanted place is under a terrible curse that only Nine can break, and she might be willing to help for something in return. I am very, very curious about this book. I think it's got really cool sprayed edges as well, so I'm hoping I really enjoy this. And I'm curious to see who Nine meets in this house and how she goes about trying to break this curse. Then I grabbed I'm That Girl, Living the Power of My Dreams by Jordan Chiles. This is Jordan Chiles' memoir. She is a member of the U.S. Olympic gymnastic team that competed at the most recent Summer Olympics. I really enjoyed watching her perform, and when I realized she had a book coming out, I decided I would grab it and hear about her journey in her own words. So very excited to get to this one. Then I got To You at the Altar by Rebecca Thorne. This is the third book in the Tomes and Tea quartet. I've read this. I absolutely loved it. It's a cozy fantasy series that I've had a lot of fun with. And so there was no way I wasn't going to pre-order this and then devour it. So very happy to have a copy of this for my shelves for whenever I eventually do a reread. Then I got A Thundering of Monsters by S.A. Patrick. This is the third and I believe final book in the Songs of Magic trilogy. I've really, really enjoyed the first two. I've been waiting since I read book 2 last year for book 3 to come out in paperback so I could snag a copy and finish up the series. So cannot wait to get to this one. Then I managed to get a copy of The Relentless Moon, which is book 3 in the Lady Astronaut series, and a much anticipated sequel, The Martian Contingency, which is book 4. And this book just recently came out. I read this, I think, in late 2020 or early 2021. And I have been waiting for book 4. I love this series. It is a sci-fi series that is alternate history. In the 1950s, an asteroid takes out a giant chunk of the east coast of the United States. And the aftermath of that leaves our planet in a state where we know it's going to be uninhabitable. So our space program rapidly increases, and we see the after effects of that as we race to get off our planet before it is no longer safe for us to live here. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this book, so I cannot wait to dive into it. And of course, it is a series I can see myself rereading, so I'm happy to have a copy of book 3 as well. We are almost done, I promise. Then I grabbed a copy of Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. This is a modern graphic novel retelling of Little Women. I've read this, really, really enjoyed it, and can see it being a book I reread in the future, so I figured I'd get a copy for myself for when that time comes. Then I got What An Owl Knows, The New Science of the World's Most Enigmatic Birds by Jennifer Ackerman. This is a nonfiction that is going to be all about owls. I love birds. This sounded interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to a deep dive into the world of owls. And then last, but certainly not least, I got Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. I've read this before and really enjoyed it. It is something I can definitely see myself rereading down the line, and I thought I would add it to my collection. I believe I got this with Fence. The same person who was selling Fence on Pango was selling this, and it was a really, really good deal, so I decided to snag this one as well. So there you have it. There is my very large March haul. I really need to get these hauls down. We'll see how I can do in April, and yeah. Very much looking forward to all of these books and hoping I can get to them in 2025 so that I do not fail my goal, because I've managed to buy way too many books between January, February, and March. Of these books, is there one you would like me to prioritize more than the others? Let me know in the comment section below. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me pumpkin emojis in honor of pumpkin heads. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!